Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Jacob Wycoff, joined by our executive weather producer Terry Eliasen for our almost daily now weather
basically
chat.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you can tune into these more and more.
Because who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to just get their daily dose of what's next?
Exactly, yeah. So we had a very busy morning. Brianna Pitts and myself, we have this little traffic and weather center. I feel like every crash that came in, she was like, we got another one. So it was a busy morning. Things have calmed down for us, but we have a busy stretch ahead.
Yeah, not surprised this morning. I mean, obviously it wasn't a big snowstorm. A lot of folks are coating to an inch or two, but it just the variety of precipitation, and all it takes is a little bit of snow, slush, freezing rain on the road, and can cause chaos. But we're already on to the next storm. A few showers left today, but you know, we're already on to the next one. Quickly recapping what happened this morning, a couple of snowfall totals.
The biggest totals were in northern Worcester County, northwest Middlesex County, the elevation, where they held on to the cold a little bit longer. The warmer air was a little bit slower invading those spots. So you see some of these totals. Boston officially coming in at 0.4 of an inch of snow. So now we're at 8.8 inches for the season. Here's the snow events. We've had some, I would say, like we're nickel and diming.
We're getting nickel and dimed, yes.
Yeah, so no big events, couple moderate events, and then a lot of little events.
Yeah, so just at quick glance. So we've had 6 events roughly in the last 2 weeks. And these are, of course, mostly minor, you know, mostly less than 2 inches. But it's like a constant need to clean the driveway or scrape off the car. Again, nothing major, but just kind of like, really? And, you know, here we go again. Another one coming up for this weekend. But first, you know, a nice little break tomorrow. It'll be windy, but nonetheless, you know, no major reason why you can't get out and take your loved one out for a nice dinner.
Absolutely.
I assume you have those plans all cemented.
Yeah, I've got something in my brain that I'm figuring out. Yeah, got to figure it out.
We'll get back.
The thing is, like, you know, I got to work the morning shift on Saturday morning, so can't really stay out too late.
Good excuse.
And so,
Okay.
But Friday will be really windy, especially the first half of the day. But the good news is it's dry. This weekend is where we start to see things kind of going downhill. So there's our storm. Storm number 1, that is departing the area today. Storm number 2 starts to come into the picture, and that arrives Saturday night into Sunday. And this is a much longer duration event. We're not done just yet. Wait, there's more.
Keeps coming.
This is going to be basically Thursday, storm number 3, Thursday into Friday time frame.
And don't even bother looking off the West Coast because there's just more to come. So we're in it. We're in it to win it. We're in it for probably at least another week to 10 days, and who knows beyond that if this will keep going. But before we get into the details on the storms, here's your quick Valentine's Day forecast. Cold, windy, but again, doable, and less wind later in the day. There is a wind advisory up tonight through the first half of tomorrow. I mean, gusts of 40, 50 miles an hour, especially at the higher elevations. You know,
you'll notice it,
sure. And just to give you some timing on the winds, again, they ramp up after, say, dinner, after the commute tonight, and you know, stick around through the first part of tomorrow.
Yeah, so I think they're going to be persistent. You'll notice the persistent wind out of the west, northwest, and then there will be those gusts every once in a while, 40 to 50. And then, as Terry mentioned, winding down. There's our next storm system coming ashore. This is a storm that's bringing quite a bit of rain to southern and northern California. The Sierra Nevada is getting quite a bit of snow with this. High pressure will depart tomorrow. We start out the weekend dry, and then as you go later into Saturday evening, that's when the snow starts to overspread the area. And I think this is going to be a good initial thump of snow, kind of sticking around into the overnight, and then we start to see that warmer air spilling in too.
Yeah, so another one of these storms where it seems like the pattern is it starts to snow, and then we get some warmer air moving in aloft, and it's a slow changeover from south to north, from ice to rain. The only one that really didn't do that was last weekend. It was just I guess I was going to say a nice all-snow event, no complications. This one's going to be a longer, so this one to me differs from the last several in many ways. First off, it's a longer duration storm. You can see that there's some form of precipitation basically for hundreds, if not 1,000 miles west to east. It's a big event. It's a large storm. And we're talking about probably close to maybe even 24 to 36 hours of something falling from the sky. So basically, get your stuff done. If you're running errands and the timetable doesn't matter, get it done the first half of Saturday through Saturday morning, Saturday early afternoon. It's gonna get definitely tricky the later you go into Saturday, and then of course by Sunday, probably changing to some sort of mix or rain, and there could even be a flip back to a minor amount of snow going into Monday. But
right. I think the big story going into next week will be the cold initially.
Definitely. And we'll get into that in a second. But here's where we geek out, just for a quick second. So I've got two model soundings, one for Saturday night, one for Sunday, and this is just areas just like Metro West, west of Boston. For those that have been watching us, we've been trying to do this a little bit, but what you're looking at here is basically the main thing is there's a 0 degree line that goes up, that's that thick red line. And the smaller red line to the left of it is for the forecasted temperature. So anything to the right of that thick red line indicates above freezing temperatures. The left of it is below freezing. So you can see to start out Saturday night, it's clearly below freezing for the entire vertical column of the atmosphere.
And so forgive me if you guys mentioned this in previous talks, but let's pretend we're at the ground and we let a balloon off, which is kind of how we get the sounding. This is sort of the path or the data that the balloon, a theoretical balloon, would send back to us. And the reason that we do this is we need that entire column of air above us to stay below freezing in order to get those snowflakes to fall from the cloud base down to the ground. And so that's what we're looking at right now. These are the type of kind of charts that we look at to analyze the column of atmosphere.
And so one thing I'd like to point out is that in order to have the best snow growth, the best snowflakes, those dendrites, you really want to look at in the dendritic snow growth zone,
DGZ,
the DGZ, which I've highlighted here in blue. And oddly enough, Saturday night, it looks like we're sort of saturated the whole way down, but there's a little bit of dry air in the DGZ. So you got it, and again, it's early. This is still a few days away. That could change. This is one model. But if you get a little dry air in that zone, it might mean the flakes aren't quite as
it doesn't promote efficiently as much.
Right. So that's something to keep an eye on. But now we move ahead to early Sunday morning, same location, and you can see a couple differences. You'll see that there's a little notch to the right of the thick red line, which means at that level of the atmosphere, there's some warmer air moving in.
At about 850 degrees. Or 850 millibars. Rather,
yeah. So it's going to be awfully hard to get snow at this point. And you can see that in the DGZ, where now there's no more dry air. So you're getting good snow growth aloft. But when you get closer to, say, that 850, 900 millibar region, the temperatures are too warm. So the snow is going to come down, it's going to melt into rain, and then most likely refreeze into some sort of freezing rain or sleet. And again, this is early Sunday morning. So just to kind of a look behind the scenes at what we kind of are analyzing here, the storm still being a couple days away, these models could change a little bit, but I think we can sort of make some assumptions right now.
Yeah, I think plowable snow is likely with that initial thump, even though it might not be the most efficient snow flake type. I still think that we get enough of them that they're going to pile up, and especially the farther north of the pike you get, really between the Mass Pike and the Monadnock region, that's where we would likely see some of the higher totals. But we will expect to see some changeover to some sleet and freezing rain, and then eventually rain early Sunday, and then eventually some cold air spills in, perhaps changing back.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that area north and west of Boston. The reason why we would expect higher snow totals there, a couple of reasons. One, it takes longer for the mixing to get up there. Two, temperature is probably a little colder, so maybe a little fluffier and easier to accumulate. So again, we don't have a snow map out yet. We probably will by 5 o'clock tonight. We'll work on that throughout the day today. But just to give folks an idea, I think north and west of Boston, something on the order of 3 to 6, 4 to 8, somewhere in that range is certainly possible, with lower amounts as you get south of Boston. But again, tune in this evening.
With Eric,
we'll have a map up at that point. But what follows the storm is another blast of cold air. So whatever falls, it ain't going nowhere for a few days.
Yeah, it's sticking around for sure, and that would be President's Day on Monday. So kids are going to be able to enjoy some of the snow that falls, if it doesn't like crust over, I suppose. But it will be cold. Both Monday and Tuesday is when we would expect to see some of that cold air in place. Here's your full 7-day forecast. I want to point your attention at a couple different things. Obviously, Thursday, we're kind of done with that next weather alert because most of the freezing conditions are completely behind us. We are dry for Friday with that wind. Saturday into Sunday, that next weather alert. There's the cold that spills in for Monday and Tuesday, and then we have another alert possible. Really, this is going to be like late Wednesday into Thursday and maybe Friday. So the time frame of that system, we're kind of working out a little bit, but let's just keep in mind that there could be another system down the pike, let's say Thursday time frame for another system.
Yeah, and we very well could add that weather alert onto Saturday as well, because by Saturday 5 or 6 p.m. The snow should be starting and roads could definitely be tricky. So if you're heading out Saturday night, if you got plans, just be aware that it could get dicey Saturday night, and then again, long duration storm. So we're talking a full 36 hours or so of something falling Saturday into Sunday.
Sunday's going to be gross.
It's going to be gross.
Yeah.
Just driving in this morning, even though it had turned to rain most everywhere, like big puddles, like there's melting snow, there's slush. And think about this storm coming up on the weekend. It's going to have a lot more precipitation with it for a lot longer time. So you're definitely going to there'll probably be areas of pockets of flooding going on with the melting snow, with what have just fallen. So just kind of a messy day. Yeah,
and it looks like, as we look ahead to February, there's not a lot of warmth to even close out the month. We're 15 days away. Halfway through. There's not a lot of warmth that looks to be had as you go into the rest of the month. So again, we'll see if those storms tap into some of the cold. We didn't show the graphic, and I might be able to pull it up. Let's see if we can pull it up here. If we could pull up the graphic on. So I love this graphic because for the last 2 months, December and January, obviously we completed those. We were below average. It's really hard to get 2 back-to-back months. At the moment, we're on pace to have 3. And, if we're this far below halfway through, it's going to take some bigger numbers towards the end.
I don't see a lot of warmth coming.
Yeah, and so the last time we had a winter with 3 below average months was 2013, 2014. I guess it speaks to just how intense some of the cold has been this winter.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems as though for the last several years, every record we break is a warm weather record.
Yeah.
It's, almost every month is above average. But this just goes to show that even with the climate changing and things, the oceans warming, we can still have stretches like this where we have an entire season below average. Again, not happening as frequently as it used to, but it's sort of startling. I mean, it's been persistently cold for this entire winter. We've had, we're on a stretch now where we've had over 40 straight days without hitting 50, which is the longest stretch in, I want to say, a few years at least. So we're having a real winter.
Yeah, it's definitely winter.
And you mentioned this morning the total snow this winter already has exceeded the combined snow from the last 2 years.
Yep, which the bar was very low.
It was low.
But I think that speaks to the winter we've had.
Exactly.
So we appreciate everyone tuning in. Once again, like and subscribe. Hit that like and subscribe button for more of these chats. And we'll be back tomorrow with another talk. For now, be safe, everyone.